Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kissy. It's very early in the morning, so don't mind me doing my ASMR voice, my very quiet, whispery voice. Unless I'm doing my morning voice. Good morning to you. Thank you to Martin for that one. Martin Lawrence comedy stand-up. I recently saw a clip of that show. For anyone that hasn't watched it, it was probably one of the first comedy shows that I've watched that I really liked. Very pervy, however, I'll say, but funny nonetheless, of course. Anywho, I put up this painting today. This is an old one too that I did years ago with the candle intentions, or what I talked about in a previous video is putting your energy into your manifestation intention. So this is Jupiter, the flame of Jupiter, dare to dream. You have the portal, the door, the rainbow door. Now those were the symbols that came to me when I did the painting, when I meditated on Jupiter. So it was meant to be simplistic, but also to just highlight the essence, I guess you could say. And with Jupiter, I think with the new moon that we have now, it's a reminder. Dare to dream big. Like, don't limit your ideas based on what you think or feel you can or cannot accomplish or do. You never know how things unfold. So the least that you can do is create a space that allows for the most beautiful dream, allow for the most aligned vision to your truth to flourish. And that's all you can do, is trust and believe that you're going to be open to the best life has to offer you. So for some reason I was brought back to a talent show in the 90s. So the 90s could be significant. I mean, granted, I grew up in the 90s, so to me it's like it's just a memory. But for some of you younger generations, maybe you were born in the 90s, perhaps that era of time and space is significant at this time. So I was so what came through was creativity. Like I was remembering being in a talent show, dancing to MC Hammer. It was a group of us. I think it was like 5 girls. This was probably my 7th grade year, middle school. And the performance was wild. It was crazy. I mean, people were just, because it was hype, you know, so hype, people were not expecting. And then it was a girl group. It was very fun. That's not the point. The point is, it made me think back on the creative endeavors that I pursued, especially during that time in middle school, which was drama, choir, TV production, TV, being an anchor for the news for the school. What was the other one? Besides, okay, then there was the sports, but I was thinking more along the lines of the acting, the producing, the performances that we did, like youth fairs, going to youth fairs and performing, or going to different schools and doing shows for them. So something to do with performing arts, or you may be considering taking on these hobbies, any of these hobbies. Another memory that came through was the drama, participating in acting and doing that, in school. It was kind of like a foundation that allowed me to experience after high school or after college, I believe. I was introduced to a production group, and they did performances in the city that I lived in. They performed at churches, because they were like shows that had like a moral story and things like that. One of the people that I worked with, the one that introduced me to the group, I was working with. Eventually, we started practicing our lines, going over our lines, and eventually he made a move on me. He made a pass, I should say. And that kind of turned me off to the experience, because I had to continue to perform with this person, feeling very awkward. Even though he apologized, he didn't mean to, he misunderstood, blah, blah, blah. I was like, whatever. The night of our first performance, I think I did my first line, he did his dialogue, and I literally skipped the entire performance, and I went straight to the end of our dialogue. I was so nervous, my brain went blank. So there could be something about performance anxiety or an awkward situation making it difficult to focus. Take that energy as you will. I don't know why Spirit wanted me to share that, but I'll share it anyway, because I no longer question why my spirit wants to talk about the things it talks about. Okay? I used to be very controlled, and not to say that I cannot, but in this space, when I speak, I trust the process. I trust that what's coming through is relevant for the current energies. So the Aries energy kept coming through because MC Hammer, we actually share the same birthday. So Aries energy is significant. I saw Mariah Carey as well. Something about one summer night, we ran away. Let me see. To an obscure place to hide that no one could find, and we drifted to another state of mind. So I feel there's an energy of two people that are able to it gives me like meditating together or being able to connect deeply and kind of create a bubble or a realm where they can both coexist. I know that sounds weird, but it's like creating your own little world in a very busy one. Okay, so let's begin with the reading. So let's see what the current energies are. Happy new moon, by the way. I think this is a significant beginning for a lot of us. Oh, there is something I want to talk about. I guess it's perfect timing. I don't know. Something that maybe I don't have the right term for it, but I'll explain what it was, the experience. Some, I think, call it spiritual assassins. The person that I had presumed to be my twin flame, at the time I wasn't very much, how do I put it? My introduction to the twin flame energy had to do more with validating a connection that was mutually spiritually aligned. And by that I mean that I had been used to a spiritual connection with myself and God. But to have someone validate it or mirror it or say, oh, look at the synchronicities. Oh, I just had this dream, and look, like where you know you're connecting with someone on the spiritual. I had that experience with someone who I considered my false twin flame. So that was my first introduction. It wasn't about the twin flame, it was about the false twin flame, because the experience was, this is a very negative connection, but I know we are spiritually connected, and that's how I've deemed that it was a false twin flame. What I considered my soul connections were people that truly, that for no apparent reason, there was a deep love, like a kinship, like a love that is unwarranted in this lifetime. And it's not about the physical, it's not about this, it's not sexual, it's none of those things. It's just, you matter to me. You're an important person in my life. You're a significant being in my life. Your impact on my life is profound. That's a soulmate. That's what my soulmate experience has been. But the person that I thought was my true twin flame, after the false twin flame, the reason I coined it the true twin flame was because the experience was extremely different to the false twin flame in terms of potency, in terms of impact, in terms of depth of awakening, in terms of how little control I had of myself in the presence of this person. And by that, it wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to control. It was just, I had no other option but to be all me. No matter how corny, no matter how embarrassing, no matter how it would be perceived, I couldn't be inauthentic in this man's presence. And I loved that. And I hated that. I loved that I was the most true with myself. And it had nothing to do with like a promise that I made to myself to do this with this person. I had no clue who this person was to me initially. So there was no intention going forward other than, oh, that's cool people. I want to get to know this person more, you know? And then it eventually led to like a stronger attraction, what felt like a stronger bond. Even though it was a short period of time initially to establish that, it felt like this person can see all of me the way I feel I can see all of them. And by seeing all of them, it's not necessarily that you understand what you're seeing, but you know you're feeling all of them in a way that you haven't felt other people. You feel their mind, body, soul, the impact of their energy on yours. It's like all channels are open between us. But that also means the positive and the negative. Most people conceal their dark side. Some people, and I don't know if this was a conscious thing on his part. I don't know if this was a planned thing on his part. It could have been, as it was for me, for him. Something unexpected, something unknown, something involuntary in a sort of way. All I can go is based on what was shown and actually said, right? I'm not presuming or assuming on his part, but I want to explain it from my perspective. For those of you who have gone through a similar experience, the reason I call him the spiritual assassin is because at the lightest level, the impact was huge. So if this person made me sad, it made me extremely sad. If this person made me happy, he made me extremely happy. If he made me vulnerable, he made me extremely vulnerable. If he made me angry, I was extremely angry. So everything was on an extreme level in terms of the impact of energy between us. And whether or not the intention was to harm, to hurt, a spiritual assassin to me looks like this. Someone that destroys your ego. And let me clarify what that even looks or feels like. Everything you thought you were. It's like you melt. All of you melts away. And all that's left is what is true of you. So it's like there's no pretense. The ego that is developed in falsehood to protect or whatever, that was like it melted. And what was left was like, this is me, all of me as I am, period. And that's very painful for the ego because everything is personalized. So his reaction to my behavior or the things I would say or the misunderstandings, something as small as that, felt like death. It was like every negative experience I experienced with him, which was very light, to be quite honest. It was on the lightest level because this was only on the level of words. But to be able to feel beyond those words and the strength of the truth behind them, or the strength of the what's the word? The strength of the disparity between what was being shown and what was being felt, I think that's the right word, was so big that the ego couldn't, I felt like my brain could not quite come together. You know, like you just can't believe. Like, I think that's like when a narcissist kind of gaslights you, that you're like, this cannot fucking be real. Like, are you really denying reality in my face like this? Like, are you trying to make me feel like I'm a crazy person? That was the level. And it was beyond that too. I don't call it narcissism. I don't call it anything. I call it being the exposure of the darkest and the exposure of the most light. Is the only way I can put it when dealing with this person. It had nothing. It was so personal, yet extremely impersonal. Like it was God's grace or an act of God between us, using us as the vessels to experience this energy of awakening, whether it was just to awaken me on his part, you know, like I said, whether or not it was his intention, whether or not he did it with malice or he did it with generosity of spirit, because it was a dualistic experience, extremes on both sides. And that to me felt, I call him the spiritual assassin of my life, because it's almost like, had I not learned to overcome that, it could have easily taken me out. In terms of like just my consciousness, or whoever I like, how do I explain that? I think that would be the equivalent of death. The equivalent of somebody just dying. And I know that sounds extreme or dramatic, perhaps, but when you look at it from the spiritual level, it's like, who am I if I'm not this spirit? Who am I if I am not this spirit? Like, this is all I am. This is all I have left of me. You could take everything in the physical, fine. I won't identify with my name. I won't identify with my gender. I won't identify as a label of a parent or a child or a daughter. You know what I mean? Like, I will not identify myself as anything. But all that's left is my consciousness as me. And that is a part that was being attacked, or that is a part that was being released or opened or killed off, or I don't know. dramatic, I guess. I didn't die. You know, I do feel like whoever I thought I was died. Whoever I believed I could be died. Whatever old dreams died. Whatever old expectations died. All of it. All beliefs of all things. It was like I no longer hold on to any of it. It's like I became this essence. I became anew. It's the only way I could put it, but I'm still me, you know? But it's like the birth of me, the birth of the pureness of me without all the extra, the birth of the pureness of me without all the extra, without the baggage that was attached, without the identification that was attached. It's like clean slate to become who you choose to be, not who you were told you were. And for that, I am forever grateful to this masculine. That is why I love him the way I do. And some would be like, girl, get over this man. Why aren't you with this man? Or no, because it, whether or not the plan was for us to be physically together, the reason for the connection, or whatever the connection was meant to transform, or whatever it was meant to do, it did. It did. Now it's a choice. In other words, anything else is a gift. Anything else is extra. Like the contract of those two souls that came together for whatever egoic reason. The sole purpose was completed. It was to end all that was. It was to put a period on that story of who I thought I was and who I thought I was becoming. It was like, no, you no longer have to be any of that. You could let go of that life completely. And that doesn't mean abandon my responsibilities or abandon the people I love. None of that. Nothing on the physical had to actually physically change, but it changed nonetheless. It changed for the better. You have to go through some upheavals, because letting go of your old self also means old structures that you surrounded yourself by had to be destroyed. And that could look like a lot of things, like relationships falling apart, like jobs falling apart, like the community that you believe was yours no longer being your community. All those things that I had to accept letting go of. Even though some of those things I never got closure on, even though some of those things I never got answers for, even though some of those things I never got what I consider my due justice on, I let it all go because it's no longer part of the story I'm meant to live. So it's like, why hold on to it? You know what? Oh well. You know, it's like a series that you watched and you never finished. Well, what's the point of finishing that series? You're watching an entire new series that you're totally into, that you're totally in love with, that you're completely excited to watch every fucking day. You see what I mean? Very different energy. So why would I even go back to that when none of it, the outcomes were never my outcomes in the first place? It was all based on other people's perceptions, other people's projections, other people's ill wishes. And yes, I'm not saying that there wasn't any positive in the life before that experience. Including that experience, I had to let go of a lot of that too. I guess that's a process of forgiveness, is being able to say, thank you to it all. Thank you to it all, because it made me who I am today. I will never be that version of me on all aspects, mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically. There's no way I could be who I was before that. So it's like meeting myself all over again, getting to know who I am, falling in love with myself in ways I never imagined were possible. Accepting myself despite how I can sense the judgment of others, despite how I can see the looks, despite how I can see the hate, or despite how I can hear the critiques and the criticisms underneath the compliments, or I'm no longer going to take those things personally, because I've learned that it is not. It's never been. But because there was a lack of understanding, or a lack of knowing, or a lack of realizing truth in terms of who I was. Like, why do I have to accept who you say I am? And why do I have to prove myself to you? And why do I have to work so hard for you to see me, or know me, or value me? Guess what? I never had to. I never should have. I never needed to. I was simply misguided to what I believed love was, to what I believed love looked like, to what I believe being holy meant, to what I believe being good was about. So I think I'll leave it there. I guess we can call this another candid conversation with Kissy. No more, no reading for today, I guess. Maybe later. I'll come back, folks. Take care.